The boat left the harbor before sunrise. Cold wind moved across the dark water of the Bay of Naples. The sea was quiet, almost empty. Only one small boat cut through the waves, moving slowly toward a lonely island in the distance. On that boat sat a boy. He was not older than 12. 3 weeks earlier, he had been standing in a slave market in the city of Ephesus. Men walked past him, checking his teeth, touching his arms, speaking about him as if he were an object. He did not understand most of the language, but he understood enough to know one thing. He had been sold. Someone told him he would serve in the house of the emperor. At first, that sounded like good news. The Emperor of Rome was the most powerful man in the world. Many slaves in the empire worked in mines or fields. Some died within a few years. Working in an imperial household sounded better. But now, sitting in that boat, the boy felt something was wrong. The sailors spoke very little. The guards watched the children closely. No one explained where they were going. Slowly, the island came closer. The cliffs of Capri rose from the sea like giant walls of stone. They were sharp, pale, and impossible to climb. The boy stared at them in silence. High above those cliffs, almost touching the sky, stood a massive palace. Villa Jovis, the home of Emperor Tiberius. From the sea, the palace looked less like a home and more like a fortress. It sat more than 1,000 feet above the water, watching everything that moved below. The boy could not know it yet, but once he climbed those cliffs, he would never return to the mainland again. Something terrible waited on that island. Something that had been hidden from the world. For centuries, people would whisper about what happened there. Historians would argue. Some would say the stories were exaggerated. Others would say the truth was even worse. But one thing was certain. Children were brought to that island, and many of them never left. Stay with us till the end for valuable insights. Like, subscribe, and share to support the channel. Before Capri became a place of whispers and dark rumors, the man who ruled there was once respected across the Roman world. His name was Tiberius. Long before he became emperor, he had been known as one of Rome's most capable generals. He was not famous for speeches or charm. He did not try to impress crowds. Instead, he was quiet, cold, disciplined. Tiberius spent most of his life in military camps, far from Rome's politics. He fought wars along the northern borders of the empire. He led Roman legions through forests and across wide rivers. In the region of Germania, he commanded campaigns that pushed back dangerous tribes. Along the Danube frontier, he helped secure lands that Rome depended on for trade and safety. His soldiers respected him. They said he was strict but fair. He expected discipline from everyone, including himself. But Tiberius never expected to rule the Roman Empire. The emperor at that time was Augustus, the founder of the imperial system. Augustus had originally chosen other men to succeed him. Younger men. Men he liked better. But fate changed those plans. One by one, Augustus's chosen heirs died. Some from illness, others under mysterious circumstances. Eventually, Augustus had only one serious option left: Tiberius. In the year 4 CE, Augustus officially named him as successor. It was not a moment of celebration. Many people believed Tiberius accepted the role out of duty, not desire. Those who knew him closely said he never truly wanted the throne. Being emperor meant living in the center of Rome's dangerous political world. It meant constant attention, constant judgment, and constant suspicion. And Tiberius hated that world. When Augustus died in 14 CE, Tiberius became the second emperor of Rome. At first, his rule seemed stable. The empire continued to function. Taxes flowed into the treasury. The army remained loyal. The provinces stayed quiet. But inside the emperor, something darker was growing. Tiberius trusted very few people. Even before becoming emperor, he had lived with deep resentment toward the Roman aristocracy. Many senators had treated him with cold respect rather than admiration. Now he ruled over them. Yet he never felt secure. Every conversation sounded like a possible conspiracy. Every political disagreement felt like betrayal. The death of his only son made things even worse. In the year 23 CE, his son Drusus suddenly died. Rumors spread quickly. Some believed he had been poisoned. No one could prove it. But Tiberius believed enemies were everywhere. From that moment, his personality began to change. He withdrew more and more from public life. He spoke less, trusted fewer people. Rome was becoming unbearable to him. Crowds watched him. Senators judged him. Every word he spoke was discussed in private rooms across the city. The emperor began searching for a place where he could escape it all. A place far from Rome. A place where no one could question him. No one could observe him. No one could control him. In the year 26 CE, Tiberius finally made a decision that shocked the entire empire. He left Rome. Not for a short visit. Not for a summer retreat. He left forever. His destination was a rocky island in the Bay of Naples, Capri, and high above the cliffs of that island stood a palace called Villa Jovis, a palace where the emperor planned to disappear from the world. But when Tiberius moved to Capri, he did not go alone. Ships began arriving from distant provinces. Ships carrying supplies, servants, guards, and sometimes children. Children like the boy sitting silently in that boat, watching the cliffs of Capri grow larger with every passing minute. The island was waiting, and once someone stepped onto its shores, leaving was almost impossible. The island of Capri did not look like a place where an emperor would live. It was small, barely 4 miles long. In some places, less than a mile wide. From a distance, it appeared peaceful, even beautiful. The water around it was bright blue, and the air smelled of salt and wild plants. But as the boat moved closer, the boy began to see the truth. Capri was not open land. It was a fortress built by nature. Tall limestone cliffs surrounded almost the entire island. In many places, those cliffs rose straight from the sea like giant walls. There were no beaches, no gentle slopes, only sharp rock rising hundreds of feet into the sky. For anyone trapped on the island, escape would be almost impossible. There was only one safe place for ships to land. A small harbor on the northern side called Marina Grande. That was where the boat stopped. The guards ordered the children to stand. None of them spoke. The boys climbed out one by one, stepping onto a wooden dock that moved gently with the waves. The mainland of Italy was still visible across the water, a thin blue line on the horizon. It looked close, but it might as well have been another world. Waiting at the harbor were several armed soldiers. They carried spears and short Roman swords. One of them held a list and began checking names as the boys stepped forward. The boy from Ephesus heard strange Latin words he did not fully understand. When his turn came, a guard looked at him quickly, then made a mark on the parchment. No explanation, no greeting, just another name added to the list. Then the walking began. From Marina Grande, a narrow path climbed steeply toward the top of the island. The road twisted between rocks and trees, rising higher and higher with every step. The guards forced the boys to walk in single file. No talking, no stopping. The journey lasted for hours. The sun climbed higher into the sky. Sweat ran down their faces. Some of the younger boys stumbled on the rocky path, but the guards pushed them forward without sympathy. Slowly, the harbor disappeared behind them. Then the sea itself vanished from sight. All around them were steep hills covered with wild plants and stone walls. Occasionally they passed small farms where local island families lived. The farmers watched the group in silence. They had seen this before. Children arriving. Children who never returned. Eventually, the path reached the highest part of the island. And there it stood. Villa Jovis. Even from a distance, the palace looked enormous. Massive stone walls rose above several terraces carved directly into the mountain. White marble columns stood in long rows, supporting balconies and halls that seemed to stretch across the entire hilltop. The complex covered thousands of square feet, but what made it truly frightening was its position. On three sides, the ground simply ended. Beyond the palace walls was empty space, followed by a fall of more than 1,000 feet straight down to the rocks below. No prison walls were necessary. The cliffs themselves were the prison. As the boys approached the outer gates, they could see soldiers standing guard on tall watchtowers. From those towers, guards could see the sea for miles in every direction. Nothing could approach Capri without being noticed. Nothing could leave without permission. The gates opened slowly. Inside, the palace felt strangely quiet. Hundreds of people lived and worked there. Servants, cooks, soldiers, builders, attendants. But the place still felt controlled, almost unnatural. Every corridor had guards. Every entrance was watched. The boys were led through a long stone courtyard surrounded by high walls. Water fountains flowed from carved statues. Birds flew above the open spaces between buildings. But the beauty of the palace did not hide its true purpose. Everything about Villa Jovis was designed for control. Separate buildings housed different groups of servants. Narrow passages connected the rooms in confusing patterns. Some doors were guarded constantly. Other parts of the palace were completely hidden from ordinary workers. The emperor could move anywhere inside the villa without being seen. Visitors could enter only certain areas. And no one reached Tiberius unless someone powerful allowed it. The boys were taken to a lower terrace of the palace complex. There, waiting attendants began dividing them into smaller groups. No explanation was given. One guard pointed to a door. Two boys were pushed inside. Another guard pointed somewhere else. Three more boys disappeared down a corridor. When the boy from Ephesus looked around, he realized something frightening. The boys who had traveled beside him on the boat were already gone. Within minutes, they had all been separated. The friendships formed during the long journey were broken instantly. No familiar faces. No shared language. No comfort. This was not an accident. It was the first step of something carefully planned. Because isolation made control easier. And inside the walls of Villa Jovis, control was everything. The door behind the boy closed with a heavy sound. For the first time since leaving the slave market, he was completely alone. He still did not know why he had been brought to Capri. But the palace around him was beginning to reveal a terrible truth. This was not simply a place where servants worked. It was a place where people disappeared. And once someone entered its hidden corridors, the outside world slowly stopped existing. The boy barely had time to catch his breath before the real lessons began. Inside the lower terrace of Villa Jovis, the rooms were small and bare. Each measured about 12 feet square, with narrow windows facing the sea. The walls were cold stone. A single oil lamp hung from the ceiling, casting flickering shadows. 4 or 5 boys shared each room. There were no toys, no comfort. Only sleeping pallets lined the walls. From the moment they arrived, every movement was watched. Older attendants, men who had already served the emperor for years, waited in the corridors outside the rooms. Their eyes followed every step. Their expressions were calm, but every boy knew that mistakes would be punished. The first lesson was simple: obedience. Questions were forbidden. Hesitation was dangerous. The boys learned that even a glance in the wrong direction could bring a sharp word, a strike, or worse. The attendants did not explain what would happen next. Silence filled the room, and the boys quickly understood it was safer to say nothing at all. Each morning began at dawn. Water from the palace cisterns splashed over their bodies. Cold and harsh, it forced the boys awake. They ran through exercises to keep their bodies flexible and strong. Later came lessons in movement. How to walk lightly across stone floors. How to bend or turn without making noise. How to hold their posture in perfect alignment, as if they were statues. But this was only the beginning. Later lessons were more unusual. They learned to sing under strict instruction, repeating verses from Greek poems. They practiced gestures, graceful movements, and precise steps. Everything was carefully controlled. Every action served a purpose. The attendants taught the boys to watch carefully. Every small expression, every twitch of a finger, every change in the emperor's mood mattered. They learned to read faces like maps, understanding anger, pleasure, or disapproval before it was spoken aloud. This knowledge became their lifeline. A single misstep could bring consequences. Food, warmth, even comfort was tied to performance. Those who pleased the attendants received small privileges, better blankets, slightly warmer food, or freedom from certain tasks. But these privileges were never promised and could vanish without warning. Competition grew naturally. The boys learned to watch one another closely, ensuring they did not form alliances that could challenge authority. The training was not only physical or intellectual. It was deeply psychological. Every boy learned to depend on the adults who controlled their lives. Friendships, family ties, and past lives mattered less than the approval of the attendants and, ultimately, the emperor. Their identities began to disappear, replaced by the new purpose imposed on them. Every day ended with preparation for possible summons. No boy knew when the emperor might call for him. Some waited for hours in silent rooms. Others were escorted directly to unknown chambers. A single glance or hesitation could determine whether they returned safely or disappeared for days. The system was organized, efficient, and unyielding. It was not chaos, it was deliberate. The palace itself was a machine designed to enforce control, and the boys were being reshaped to function within it. And yet, despite the fear, there was a strange rhythm to life inside Villa Jovis. The routines became predictable, almost comforting in their structure. Food, exercise, training, everything repeated daily. The boys began to measure time by these cycles, even as the uncertainty of what awaited them at any moment never disappeared. The boy from Ephesus, who had known only the crowded streets of the market and the distant shores of his home, now lived in a world where every movement, every breath, every glance was carefully observed. His body and mind were being trained, molded, and tested. The palace was teaching him, in the most subtle and terrifying ways, that survival depended on more than strength or cleverness. It depended on reading others, anticipating moods, submitting without question. And the boy began to understand a painful truth. Once inside Villa Jovis, the outside world no longer existed. The cliffs, the guards, the secret doors, and the watchful attendants created a bubble where the emperor's power was absolute. Here, obedience was life, and any failure could be final. The boy shivered as he lay on the cold pallet that night. He had crossed the sea, climbed the cliffs, and entered a palace built like a cage. The lessons had begun, and the true reality of Capri was only starting to reveal itself. The boy did not see Tiberius immediately. The emperor rarely appeared in the lower terraces where the new arrivals lived. His presence was a distant shadow, whispered about among the attendants and older boys. But every lesson, every command, Every punishment was designed to prepare them for that one moment. The first encounter with the emperor himself. Villa Jovis was enormous, but its design made it impossible to escape notice. Corridors twisted, passages connected terraces in secret, and certain rooms were guarded at all times. Only the attendants and the soldiers knew the full layout. The emperor could move unseen, watching everything without leaving a trace. Every decision in the palace was deliberate. No space was wasted. Every floor, every staircase, every terrace had a purpose in control, surveillance, or isolation. The boy learned quickly that nothing at Villa Jovis was accidental. The walls themselves were teachers. The palace had hidden doors, private chambers, and secluded gardens. Some rooms were locked at all times. Some areas were accessible only through passages known to the attendants. On the upper terraces, the emperor's private quarters were a world apart. Marble pools collected water from intricate cistern systems, fed through carved channels and fountains. In the soft light of the morning sun, the pools reflected the sky and cliffs, hiding what went on inside. The boys who served there were trained in ways that no one else could witness. They learned how to move silently, how to anticipate the emperor's desires, and how to perform in ways that blurred the line between service and entertainment. The attendants taught them to watch Tiberius carefully. Every twitch of his hand, every change in tone, every movement of his eyes could signal approval or danger. Survival depended on understanding these subtle signs instantly. The first presentation to Tiberius was terrifying. There was no warning. A guard would arrive, motion silently, and lead a boy through narrow corridors to the emperor's private quarters. The rooms were vast and cold, with stone floors that echoed every footstep. The boy could hear the distant crash of waves below the cliffs but could see nothing of the world beyond the palace walls. Inside, everything was measured. The emperor's gaze was intense, scrutinizing, testing. The attendants who accompanied the boy did not speak. They did not comfort. Their faces remained calm, but every boy could feel the weight of their silent watch. Some boys returned quickly, pale and trembling. Others disappeared for hours, their absence explained only with vague instructions or gestures. The lessons were clear. The emperor's favor was a lifeline. His displeasure could be swift and absolute. Over time, the boy noticed a pattern. Privileges, comfort, even small kindnesses were earned through performance. Those who pleased Tiberius gained small freedoms, better food, warmer blankets, or temporary relief from chores. Those who failed suffered in ways both subtle and cruel. Punishments were sometimes visible, but other times they were silent threats. An older boy vanished, never to return, leaving only whispers and fear. Despite the fear, life inside Villa Jovis had a rhythm. The boy's days became structured. Exercise at dawn, lessons in silence and movement, observation of the emperor and attendants, practice in song and gestures, preparation for the possibility of being called at any moment. Every hour, every minute was measured. And yet, the boy's world remained fragile. He had crossed seas, climbed cliffs, and entered the emperor's palace. But every lesson reminded him that survival required more than strength. It required understanding, submission, and an ability to anticipate danger before it came. Capri was beautiful from a distance. The sun glistened on the cliffs. The sea sparkled in the light. But the boy was learning that beauty could hide terror. Villa Jovis was a palace, yes, but it was also a machine. A machine built for secrecy, control, and obedience. Every corridor, every door, every shadow served one purpose: to maintain the emperor's absolute power. And the boy knew one truth that could not be ignored. Once inside, there was no turning back. The months passed slowly. The boy's small world became the rooms, corridors, and terraces of Villa Jovis. He learned every pathway, every guarded door, every narrow stair that twisted between buildings and led to hidden chambers. Nothing was accidental. The palace itself was a teacher, shaping his mind and body as carefully as the attendants did. The boy began to notice patterns in the older attendants, men who had served Tiberius for years. They were calm on the surface, but their eyes revealed secrets. Some had scars, missing fingers, or burns, silent reminders of failures or punishments from decades past. They moved with a precision that spoke of fear and survival, and they were responsible for teaching the boys. Training became more complex. Not just movement, not just obedience, but performance. The boys learned to walk gracefully, to hold still like statues, to speak in precise tones, to sing verses perfectly, and even to dance with fluidity. All of it was measured. Every step, every gesture, every glance mattered. Every action could bring reward or punishment. The boy's mind became sharper. He began to read faces, noticing tiny shifts in expression that predicted the emperor's moods. He learned the rhythm of footsteps in hallways, the subtle signals from guards, and the patterns of daily life. Fear had become a teacher as much as the attendants were. And yet, despite the training, the fear was constant. Boys disappeared, some quietly, some with visible consequence. Whispers circulated. Those who failed to please the emperor vanished. The sound of someone being led to an unknown fate echoed through the palace, carried by the stone walls and open terraces. Each disappearance reinforced the rules: obedience, silence, anticipation. But the boy also began to see moments of strange humanity in the palace. A small act of kindness from an older attendant, a shared glance with another boy, a fleeting memory of his home that he whispered quietly to himself at night. These moments were dangerous, but they reminded him that life existed beyond fear, if only in small fragments. The emperor himself remained largely unseen. When Tiberius appeared, it was sudden and overwhelming. The rooms seemed colder, the air heavier. Every boy knew that even the smallest misstep could draw the emperor's attention. Yet he learned to measure his reactions, to move and respond precisely, anticipating desires before they were spoken. Villa Jovis was not just a palace. It was a machine designed for secrecy and control. The cliffs around the island made escape impossible. The guards ensured obedience, the attendants enforced training, and the emperor's gaze created constant tension. The palace was alive with power, and every boy inside was its instrument. The boy began to understand the ultimate lesson. Survival depended on silence. Not just speaking quietly, but thinking quietly, moving quietly, feeling quietly. Every thought, every fear, every memory was measured against the palace's rules. Any mistake could be fatal. And still, he clung to the smallest spark of hope, that knowledge, observation, and careful attention might allow him to survive where others had vanished. The boy realized that life in Villa Jovis demanded more than obedience. It demanded adaptation, cunning, and the ability to disappear into shadows. As the days turned into months, he understood one truth above all. The palace was not just a home for an emperor. It was a world apart, a place where power, fear, and secrecy ruled absolutely. Every corridor, every cliff, every hidden chamber existed to enforce control. And within that control, the boy learned to survive. Not by escaping, not by rebellion, but by becoming invisible, by learning the rhythm of the palace, and by understanding the weight of silence. Capri rose around him like a fortress. The sun glistened on its cliffs, the waves crashed against the rocks below, and the wind whispered through the terraces. Beauty and terror existed together, and the boy, once a child from Ephesus, now lived fully inside the palace's shadow, shaped by its rules, its secrets, and its terrifying power. He had crossed the sea, climbed the cliffs, and entered a world where obedience was life and silence was survival. And in that world, he would continue to exist, hidden, watched, and shaped by Villa Jovis for as long as the emperor allowed. If you enjoy dark, untold history, subscribe because we uncover what others won't.